Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is my friend Yafa, and she is, your business name is Block to Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us what that means.
So I'm an ADHD coach. I work with families who have kids with ADHD. And while some people think of it as a disorder or a deficit, I mean, it is in the name, attention deficit disorder. I do not think of it that way. And I don't even really like to think of it as a difference just because of the stigma that gets attached to it a lot. And I'm really focused on changing the stigma. So I look at it as if you have a child with ADHD, they're blocked, but they're brilliant. And so the idea in working with me is that you learn how to take your child from that blocked state to being brilliant.
Great. And then how long have you been doing that?
Well, I've had my business since 2006, but before that, and with a little overlap, I was a teacher and a school counselor for 30 years, and just coincidentally most of the time was given a lot of kids that were called at risk.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, they had ADHD, or they had learning disabilities, or they had some behavior issues, or any number of things. So they were also blocked, and my goal was to bring them to brilliance.
Which school districts did you work in?
So I worked primarily in California in the Hart School District. It's H-A-R-T, but
okay,
we can go with H-E-A-R-T.
Where is that?
That's in Santa Clarita, California.
Oh, like the Santa Clarita Diet.
Like the Santa Clarita Diet. I know exactly where it's filmed. And then I was a sub up here in Seattle and Lake Washington School District. And
so you're an educator and a school counselor. Did you have any other special training or experience that led you to working with ADHD?
Well, I actually was one of the first adults to be diagnosed. This was back in 1980. They considered ADHD to be something that you outgrew when you left adolescence. Mm-hmm. And they were just beginning to realize that, oh no, it lasts until into adulthood. And
it just presents differently.
Or not necessarily.
Okay.
It just, it may be that, if you think you can't have it as an adult, then you might be diagnosed with something else. Okay. Or any number of things like you're lazy, you're spacey, you're not motivated, all of those things that kids are called with ADHD, whether they are diagnosed or not. It's horrible how the name calling happens all the time. Mm-hmm. But you would be called that as an adult.
Okay.
So, and there still are many adults that consider themselves to be lazy and spacey and unmotivated, and they may have ADHD, among the other possibilities. So when I was diagnosed in 1980, I was 23, and like I said, I was one of the first adults, and so there was a panel of us. There were 3 of us, and we went to different venues in Los Angeles, and we talked to therapists and doctors about, so it was, what is ADHD like for a kid, but now that we're adults looking back, because they never had that perspective before.
Right.
So I did a lot of that, and
I remember reading an article it was about a woman who, I think she was in college, and saying, one, that it wasn't diagnosed as an adult, and it wasn't diagnosed as commonly for women. Mm-hmm. And one of her sort of symptoms or characteristics was she was just very forgetful, and she was always leaving things, but sort of like the spaciness that you're talking about. And then so what would you do then if you're dealing with a kid with these symptoms? What kind of coaching do you do with the family?
Well, so first I want to say, if I can address the women is different thing. So yes, usually in women or in girls, it presents as more spaciness. So they're going to have the inattentive ADHD. typically without the hyperactivity, but I'm a person that has ADHD with hyperactivity, and I'm a woman. So it doesn't always appear differently. And I like to say that because I just like good information to be out there. So the way I approach, thanks. The way I approach a family is to look at the system. So one of the things we have been taught that's wrong is to, like, here's a behavior, how do I fix it? Right. You know, here's a behavior, how do I fix it? Here's a behavior, how do I fix it? It's like if your foundation is cracked, but in your home, but the way you're handling it is to repaint or re-wallpaper or to lay different, you know, to rip up the carpet and put hardwoods or just to patch the cracks.
Patch a wall or patch a cracks.
Right, exactly. If your foundation is cracked, and again, I want to say it's not the fault of parents. We have been taught wrong. We have not been taught that raising an ADHD child is not just a matter of doing something more or less or slightly differently, you know, like tweaking it. It is a different way to parent. So I go in, and whether I'm working with a family one-on-one, whether we're doing classes, my idea is to step back a couple steps, that the family would step back, really look at what is it that you want as a family, because every family is different. You have your own values, you have your own makeup and relationships and all that kind of stuff. What do you want? And then how are you going to get there? So to me, I was thinking about this just a couple of, half an hour ago. The question that I have is, are you equipped for an ongoing relationship with your child? My goal is to coach you or provide classes or workshops so that you have a lifelong relationship with your child, and your child has lifelong strategies to grow into their ADHD, not out of their ADHD. So just giving a, like, here's the behavior, what do you do, it doesn't give the full scope of, it doesn't address the full scope of ADHD. It doesn't address the full scope of what it's like to live in a family, which is a mini community, and thus has
and each
all
one's
kinds.
A little different.
Exactly. And ADHD presents itself differently in each person too. So I like to do a more comprehensive approach, even though that comprehensive approach doesn't have to be long-term, and it doesn't have to be, super, super intensive. But I have a different approach because I want results. I want results for you and your family that actually last and actually work.
So it sounds like it's a big shift kind of in perspective.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Welcome.
All the wheels are turning. So what do you have coming up? Like, was there, do you have any workshops, or what's the future?
Yeah, so I'm super excited. May 1st, 2018, I am unveiling, it's called Our ADHD Revolution. It is a group of primarily parents, but kids are invited, teachers are invited, counselors are invited. And the idea of it is to change the way the world sees ADHD, which is my big, huge, bold dream in life. So there'll be classes, there will be multiple coaching sessions with me per week in groups. There will be discounts on individual coaching, or I should say private coaching, which can be done with the parents. Occasionally, yes, the child can be a part of it, absolutely. And there will be all kinds of resources that you can't get just, on the website, like much more in depth. Okay. It's going to be sort of like a membership, but I like calling it a community, but there will be a low monthly membership fee, I guess you call it.
Right.
But I'm super, super, super excited about it because I feel like we can really, together, all of us can really make a change in the school systems, in the way some of our relatives view ADHD, which can be negatively. I mean, we can change everything about how the world sees ADHD, which is going to give your kids a much better life, more confidence, more joy, too.
More opportunities.
Absolutely. ADHD is still looked at as a stigma, and I want to wipe that off the face of the earth.
Well, you're very inspiring. I can feel your passion.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your mission with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anybody's interested in finding out more, you can go to ouradhdrevolution.com. And by the way,
yes,
the word love is backwards in revolution. I just want to say that because love is important.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And then if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the comments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Erin.
My pleasure.